Just like, man, I used it and it served me well. It's a good piece of equipment. What's your deal? And you're just like, that and the Behringer Urums, you disgusting. And you're just like, okay. All right. Hey, how's it going? Raymond's back here again. It's been a while since I uploaded anything on my channel, but that's because I was on holiday, you know? And one of my earlier videos was talking about a voiceover travel setup that I intended to bring with me because I still wanted to record stuff when I was on holiday, both for auditioning for stuff that I found or, more importantly, to contribute to jobs that I was already a part of, in case I needed to do like a pickup line for a client or something like that. And for this video, I wanted to tell you about that gear and how well it went. So in that video, I was talking mainly about two specific microphones that were part of that set. And first off is the Audio-Technica AT2020. Yep, it's a good little boy. The Pentax K1000 of condenser microphones is what I call this one. You know, it's like my little name for it because, you know, it's just the basic standard that will get you the kind of audio that you need. And I was able to do a successful pickup job for a client that already exists for myself, and yeah, the sound obviously is not going to be something like the Neumann TLM103 here, but for what you're doing and for where you are, this is going to meet a very good price point versus value and performance kind of expectation level, and I'm really happy with how well this went, because, you know, it's still in one piece. The fact that I carried it in different bags at different points of time, hopping through the different destinations that I was in, yeah, it still holds up right now. I mean, the chassis is really good metal construction. It had a few knocks, but I don't see any chips in the paint. So yeah, Audio-Technica AT2020 serving me well. The other microphone I did bring, but I didn't make use of because I frankly didn't need to, was the MXL 551, little shotgun style instrumental mic. I just use this for fun in case I was needing to record just anything or just have something that you can hold like that. It was okay. I didn't need to use it again because obviously I already had the AT2020 doing all the heavy lifting there, but it's good to know that if that one wasn't really accessible to me at any point in time, or it just didn't work for whatever reason, I had this one, which was also giving me good audio when I tested it. Still sensitive, like I was saying again, so every time I was trying to record just something for fun, I would often end up peaking it, but that's usually concerned with my own microphone technique and understanding. But when you learn how to dress up a room in the many different hotels that you might find yourself in, all this stuff becomes kind of natural to you. The pop little filter thing that I put on top of the AT2020 is possibly the only thing microphone-wise that had a bit of wear. There's like a really small dent, but this is cheap anyway. And you can get this with those cheap BM800 kits, and only buy those kits because of these accessories, because you basically buy the accessories, the shock mount, and possibly even a cable too, and just omit the BM800. Just move that aside into your collection, because it's so cheap and quite frankly you can't use it for a lot of things that you want to put out there. Moving on from that, we have the audio interface. Yes, the champion Alesis IO2 Express. Now, it did quite well, and I have a lot more faith in this. It's a little bit different in terms of like the workflow that it expects you to kind of engage with, namely because there's like a little dial that can trip you up, like the USB versus direct feed, but there's plenty of interfaces around about the time that this was released that follow the same style. And the name that this would also go under in terms of brand that I found, searching on eBay, looking at the forums, is M-Track Audio Fast Track 2 or Fast Track 1. So it's exactly the same as this. It looks exactly the same, but it has just a different name, and it will still give you the level of quality that you need to give it to your clients, and they're going to be like, yeah, that sounds clean. I like it. Funny story, before I left, there's this certain voice acting Discord where, you know, professionals and stuff, they like to give recommendations, and a lot of people knock the cheap stuff, you know? They say, oh, it's not worthy for your budget. Even if your budget is shoestring, you need to get like a Claret Focusrite or something like that. And then I just came in there, like, oh, well, don't discount these things. Like, if you can find one in good condition and you're able to test it and it works fine for you, the drivers are pretty easy to find, and even if there's not a dedicated one, ASIO for All just works quite well as well. And I told them that I also found this one relatively cheaply as well, according to where I am in Australia. And then you just have like one of those, mained players just come over there and say, oh, Elisa, and I'm like, are you alright? You good? And he's like, oh my gosh, that's inferior quality. And you're just like, man, I used it and it served me well. It's a good piece of equipment. What's your deal? And you're just like, that and the Behringer UMC, disgusting. And you're just like, okay, well, thank you for showing what kind of people are in the room. But for everyone else that wants the accessibility and isn't afraid to take the risk of finding something that's cheap, and we'll just get them what they need without actually giving them the sting of a high investment price, why not try it? And why are you knocking people that actually just want to have accessibility to record stuff? I don't think that's the right way to engage with that sort of thing, even if you understand that some things are more inferior than others. Obviously, not all microphones are made the same, and audio interfaces often come with their own quirks, but what if that person decides not to do voice acting because you told them that they need to pass a certain threshold of price to get to what they need? Again, like, it comes with your own experience, with your own research and diligence, but they can meet it with something inexpensive like that. And this might even be a recurring theme on my videos. I want to make a video that kind of details how someone who's a beginner, has interest in voice acting, can build a home recording studio at a shoestring budget and still obtain that certain level of quality that, meets the expectations of a majority of clients on the entry level. And maybe I'll do that in 2023, describing that you can also get the laptop as well for under a certain price, Australian, maybe 200, maybe 150. I think that's going to be an interesting video. Oh. Collateral damage here, just hitting the lamp. Let's talk about the headphones, the cans that I brought with me. The KRK, I should say, K&S 6400s. Now, these were really good. The fact that they can even pack down quite nicely and fold was an advantage for me in the bag that I brought with me and the different pieces of luggage that I put all my gear in, which I'll talk about next. One shortcoming about this one, though, is the fact that it has that synthetic leatherette, like on the earmuffs, as well as like the top that kind of is susceptible to moisture, changes in humidity, and just the elements if you are carrying it outside of the studio. And for me, wanting to have a bit of portability, I brought these as the only pair of headphones that I had with me that I could plug into my laptop, my iPod, iPad, and stuff like that, just using the adapter if I needed to, or take it off using the modular cable. Having a detachable cable as well is also really good, so I'm glad that I decided to take that risk, because you can fold it up, pack it down, move it around, do all sorts of things with that, and still not worry about having it snag on something. And even if it did, you can often find the appropriate cable where I was. The kind of environment that I was in, though, was super hot. Like, Philippines is hot, and hotter. And I jumped around from Cebu to Puerto Princesa and Palawan. Went to Manila. Yeah, went to Manila. It's a good place. Probably is a good place around it. But the fact that I had to be there so many times via Philippine Airlines, which is a video in itself, rant-worthy stuff about that airline. The weather and my sweat hanging on my neck like that just allowed that synthetic leather to peel off, so that wasn't really good. Other incidentals that I had was just like the small little bag that I kept the microphone in. So the Audio-Technica AT2020 came in its own little bag. It was also something that I put my SD cards in and stuff like that. So that was really nice. But to charter all of this stuff around, aside from my luggage, I had just a basic backpack like this little Rossini hiker-style backpack. Philippine brand represent, yeah? And it was quite comfortable having that for a time. It was able to fit all the stuff that I was going to be using for my jobs and stuff like that. Kind of annoying when an airline has a stipulation where you need to meet a certain threshold or be under a certain threshold of your weight limit. So that's something that you need to be wary of if you decide to take your luggage with you, your gear with you. I had 7 kilos to work with, so combined with all the gear I showed you, as well as my cameras, the one that I'm recording with now, a DSLR and a few lenses, you might need to kind of play a bit of Tetris and put some stuff over here, put some stuff over there, and kind of hope for the best and not end up forking over 2,000 pesos for a time where your luggage is just a little bit over. That kind of annoyed me, but hey, that's lessons learned, and you live and learn, of course. A few other considerations before I sign off here is sometimes you will just have your bag scanned at the customs and then it will just be flagged for the fact that it has gear of a certain value and it looks like it's commercial in use. Just going through the metal detectors, there's nothing really to fear about that, but it did kind of happen a few times for me. When I was leaving Melbourne via Tullamarine, the customs staff just said, so, is this your bag? I'm like, yeah, man. It's like, you got microphones in here? I'm like, yeah, I do. I got 2 specifically. You want to see them? And the guy's just like, nah, it's all good. Just wanted to know. I'm like, cool. And then you're on your way. It's just like, yeah, well, that might happen. And if it does happen to you, it's just something that you need to be ready for. Kind of like how you're expected to take your laptop out as well and have that screened as a something that goes through the metal detector separately as opposed to your jacket, your passport, your keys, coins, and stuff like that. Yeah, that's pretty much everything that I need to talk about right now, and everything that I kind of wanted to say. Actually, no. Let's talk about the laptop as well. In my prior video, I showed you that I had a Dell Inspiron 7720, and maybe also consider that as well, because out of everything that I had with me, the laptop was the heaviest thing. It was like 3 kilos and a bit, and I was like, this big behemoth of a console that I brought with me. If you have a lightweight laptop, it's probably not much of a problem for you, but if you're, again, working with a stipulation from an airline and, keeping under that is a must, definitely see if you can get a laptop, or if you have a laptop, if it's something that you can reduce the weight of, like if it has 2 hard drive bays, like my one has, maybe you only need 1 and you can take that little hard drive out and it will minimize the difference. Would you need a mouse? Do you need a shock mount? Do you need any of the stuff that you think would be necessary? And could you leave it out? Are questions that you would want to ask yourself then. Because for the majority of my stay in the different hotels that I was at and what I was able to use and work with, I actually didn't end up using a lot of the stuff that I thought I would need, yeah? Like, for example, I told you that I didn't really need to bring this, and maybe I don't, but having it there just gave me a bit of comfort knowing that I had a backup. But it doesn't mean that you might need to bring 2 interfaces, or you might need to bring 2 microphones, for example. Another thing I didn't use too much was the little microphone stand that I bought cheaply on eBay. That's something that you probably won't need as well, because if you can hand hold it, your condenser microphone, and there's no handling noise from you, and you can keep your distance from your mouth and deliver your lines, cool, that's going to work as well. But yeah, I think that should wrap up everything else as a bit of a recap video to bookend alongside that other one. Yeah, you can do voiceover on the road. I made a video about it when I was in Cebu in one of the high-rise hotels. Didn't do any in Japan because I wanted to do Japan stuff in the short time that I was there, so there's that. I can provide you some B-roll footage for that later on, but yeah. Aside from that, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you around when I make some future videos for other stuff that I'm interested in. So yeah, see you there.